I'm going to talk insulin-friendly foods and why all the food that you eat, the calories that you take in, are not created equal. Do all calories lead to weight gain? And that answer is unequivocally no. If you're a calorie counter, have done it in the past, tracked your macros, micros, things of that nature, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're kind of set up for failure. So let me break down insulin, and specifically insulin resistance and the foods that are causing you to go closer to that. If you are fatigued, if you are concerned with fatty liver, your triglycerides are high, you're suffering from metabolic disease of obesity, weight gain, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and your heart attack risk is going up, let alone calcification in the arteries, this is a very important video for you to understand that not all food is made the same when it comes to spiking insulin and what it creates inside your body. So I'm going to show you how to pick the right foods in order to keep insulin under control. And if you can control that one hormone, it is the gatekeeper. It is the bully on the playground to all the other hormones in your body and how you store fat to either be fat storing machine or fat burning machine. Less insulin, the more fat burning you get. So let's break this down. Interesting research showing how when you eat a carbohydrate, and these are mostly going to be in the form of grains, breads, crackers, tortillas, chips, cereals, these types of breads, carbohydrates are going to have the biggest impact on your insulin levels. So insulin goes up when we put these carbohydrates in. Now I should mention that vegetables do contain carbohydrates, but the impact is going to be much less with our greens, Brussels, spinach, broccolis, cauliflowers, those of nature, because of the amount of fiber that's going to go in. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. It lowers your insulin response. So right out of the gates there, you're starting to see that calorie counts might be the same. You could have 100, calories of broccoli versus 100 calories of bread. Totally different impact on your fat storing and your fat burning because of the fiber and other factors of how the body breaks it down. Carbohydrates burn more like diesel fuel in your body. And when they do that, they're going to require a lot more insulin because they're going to give off so much glucose so fast. So they'll just and burn up and instantly enter your bloodstream, and then the body has to rush to get out to get it because it was such a fast surge and store that away or burn it as energy. That's why carbohydrates are that way. Now, when the carbohydrates have a lot of fiber with them, less of that happens. So the more fibrous, whole grain, quinoa type real grains that you have, the more fiber there is, or going towards vegetables. Now, fruits are going to have this same impact. And so the more glucose concentration in the fruit, the higher the insulin is going to spike because it instantly gets released. When you leave the fiber with the fruit, you negate that sum. But what you want to watch out for is a buildup of fructose. And unfortunately, we've been over-inundated. We've been overusing fructose, especially in the form of high fructose corn syrups that we're seeing in sodas and a lot of packaged goods. That is going to instantly go to the liver. And this overwhelm of fructose in the liver is going to have a problem for the liver to deal with, where it has to get rid of this energy and store it. When the liver is constantly in fat storage mode, it starts to get fatty. It starts to get cirrhosis. And that is exploding in this country. 50 million Americans, 40+% now dealing with fatty liver disease because of too much fructose. And this constant spike of insulin that is overworking insulin creates a resistance that it cannot keep up with. The fructose specifically and the sugars build up in the liver, creating fatty liver disease that is just building the insulin resistance machine. So we can pick better foods. Not all calories have the same impact. If we did 100 calories of protein compared to carbohydrates, we would only get about half the spike in insulin because it's going to take it a little bit longer to burn it. This is more like gasoline and breaking that down for fuel inside the body. There's not as much soot. There's not as much expulsion like diesel fuel. This is more like regular unleaded. Now, when we add carbohydrates and protein, interesting enough, it still has a very similar spike. You're getting, kind of the meat and potatoes type thing. You're still getting a very significant spike altogether. Now, the best case scenario for insulin, 100 calories of fat versus 100 calories of protein versus 100 calories of carbs, way different impact. Virtually none, if not any, spike of insulin when you consume fat. So the healthier fats, avocados, raw nuts, coconut milks, coconut oils, as healthy fats, way better option to keep insulin down. In a world where we're constantly spiking insulin because of the amount of carbohydrates we're eating, overdoing protein, especially with carbohydrates, we end up spiking insulin a lot, so we want to go more towards healthy fats. So it is decreasing the amount of this that we're eating. We're going more for this cutoff here of lots of vegetables or very fibrous grains if we're going to have them to prevent that spike. We're lowering down our protein levels just a little bit, 15 to 20 grams per meal of actual protein, could go up to 20 to 30 if you wanted to. That's going to help that spike, and then introducing more healthy fat waves of how do we get that into each meal. That is the what to eat. Now, there are a few foods that do really well at blocking this insulin spike. One of them we already talked about, which is fiber. So adding in fiber into your diet is going to help. My favorite is konjac root or glucomannan. Glucomannan is like a sponge. It's like nature's gastric band. It sucks up all of the excess liquid and sugars inside the gut, and it helps to prevent and actually lower blood sugar spike. So it's going to be very insulin friendly and take you this direction. So I like adding that one. If I'm going to be having something that has a little bit of fructose, like a smoothie, I use it right in my collagen protein powder. Next is ACV. You down with ACV? Yeah, you know me. Now this is a great blocker of these insulin spikes. It kind of cuts that off and drives you this direction is what ACV is going to do. And some studies show as equal or almost as good as metformin, especially for those with diabetes. So those foods can be added in. I would also add that any fermented food, sauerkraut's also very good at blocking this because you're getting fiber and that fermentation vinegar impact as well. So do all calories lead to weight gain? No. Depends on which type, which food group you are eating. The more you pick from healthy fats, clean sources of proteins that's not overdone, and the right healthy fiber balance carbohydrates, not the refined carbohydrates that we tend to pack on. That's where you're going to be getting into fat burning mode way more often. So the main first step for more fat burning, reducing insulin, reversing insulin resistance, is what type of calories or foods that you are eating. The second phase, and video number 2 to this, is when you eat has a massive impact on your fat burning and your fat storing. I made a whole video and an entire training and a guide on this whole process. I put that right here for you as a next step. Check it out.